Today we're diving into a topic that has been widely requested. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I put out a survey to our community and I said, what do you want? Like in life, what are your desires? What is it that you're really wanting to experience or have for yourself? And as the responses come in, there was one word that I was seeing again and again and again. And that word was time. People were like, I want time freedom. I want more time. I want my time back. Time. And so I said, okay, y'all, I will make you a podcast episode talking to you about how to take back your time. So let's do it. If you're new here, my name is Kaela Gedda. I am one of the co-hosts of this podcast. This podcast is called Live Your Yes Life, which happens to be the same name as our Facebook group and the book that we published that is a #1 new release on Amazon. So head over there if you want more of this. And we support you on this podcast and in all of the places that we are to go from just wishing and hoping for your dream life to actually bringing that life to fruition. Like I said, today we're talking about taking back your time. How do we take back our time? Okay, let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to say is that while many people are saying, what I really want is more time, that tells me that time is currently the thing that they feel like is standing in their way. You can listen to other podcast episodes that I have where I talk about the 3 biggest ways that we get in our own way. And those 3 biggest ways are money, time, and approval. And we also do a deep dive on this topic in our book. And what we know about those 3 ways that we get in our own way is that it's not actually about the thing that we think it's about. Okay, now I'm not here calling anybody a liar. I'm just saying that the experience of not having any time or not having it be the right time is a symptom of the deeper issue at play. So it's important that we know that, because if we want to have time freedom or time flexibility or create more time for ourselves or have now be the right time that we can hit go on our dreams, that we understand that time isn't really the thing we have the issue with. There's something else. So that is where we will begin. Okay, so when time is our perceived obstacle, what's really going on is that there is a part of us that doesn't want change. Now, this might not be a conscious part of us. It may be a small part of us. But if there is a roadblock that we have where we feel like our time is maxed out, we don't have the time, this isn't the right time, anything going on with time, what's actually happening is that there is a deeper undercurrent where there is a part of us that does not want change. So it's not a time problem, it's a proximity to possibility problem. Let me say that again. It's not a time problem, it's a proximity to possibility problem. Because the truth is that change is scary. Okay? Change is scary, even when it's the change that we want. And sometimes we've been thinking about for days or weeks or months or years about having whatever it is that we want to have. And as we get closer to it, as our proximity to that possibility gets closer and the change starts to become a reality, there is a part of us that says, okay, this is kind of scary. I don't know if I'm ready for this kind of change. Because all change, even good change, even the change that we want, comes with baggage, right? For example, something that I hear a lot from our clients, most of our clients are entrepreneurs, not all of them, but most of them. And something that I hear a lot from our clients is that we uncover that when they start scaling their business, so they go from, I serve a couple of clients, a week or a month, to now I'm building my business, I'm scaling it into that 6-figure revenue annually. What happens is there becomes more responsibility, more clients, more need for team support. And all of that can feel a little bit scary. Like, okay, I want to help more people with my business. I want to have more revenue, but now these other responsibilities are coming along. Or I want to help more people, but now it feels like I'm not as available for my family as I once was. And that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to stay, but at first, that is a fear that comes up for many people. And so then we will pull back and say, well, maybe it's not the right time. Or I just don't really have time to do that because I'm focused on XYZ over here. And so we let time be the thing that keeps us from having what we want. And we blame time, even though it's not really a time problem. Okay. So what we're doing is we sneakily, subconsciously sabotage ourselves from whatever change is about to occur by being busy. And something that I recently heard that I really enjoyed is the thought that, like, none of us are trying to sabotage ourselves, of course. What we are trying to do is protect ourselves. And so, this part of us that is afraid of change or wants to delay the change or mitigate the change or whatever it is just trying to protect us. It's like, whoa, 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 this change is going to be scary. We don't know how you're going to be able to handle whatever's coming next. So let me protect you, which ultimately looks like sabotage. And so I think it's helpful to think of sabotage in that way of it's just our ego part, our ego mind trying to protect us, even though our soul knows that this is safe. It's safe to move forward to what we want. So now that I'm setting the stage, you may be able to guess that what I'm not going to do is give you any scheduling hacks for you to take back your time. And there are some systems that we can put in place. There are things like time blocking, like having that something that is super important. It's called a DMO, your daily method of operation. I have another podcast episode where I break down the steps of how to make your DMO. There are tangible things that you can do to help you organize and use your time wisely, but that's not what I'm going to talk to you about today. Today, I'm giving you the real of how you actually take back your time, and it's not with hacks. Those are just helpful tools that we can and should use to be with the surface level symptom of time. But if we actually want to revolutionize our relationship with time, then we have to go deeper. And so there are 3 specific tips, tools that I'm going to give you today to share with you how to take back your time. I recommend grabbing a pen and paper so you can write these down, take notes, because I am going to give it to you direct. Okay? Here is number 1 of how to take back your time. Number 1 is tell the truth to yourself and others. Let's get into what this could look like. We do this on a surface level with things like, I just don't have the time. I'm super busy today. That is not true. Okay? Something that is more true would be saying, that is not going to be a priority for me today. That might be true. Let me try to think of an example in my own life for today. It's hard because I don't often find myself saying I don't have the time. Okay, let's say, here's a real example. Sometimes my team will ask me for, like, even yesterday, they're like, hey, Kaela, can we get a podcast episode from you? So it would not be true for me to say, I'm too busy, I don't have the time. What would be true is for me to say, recording the podcast episode is not a priority for me today. Because yesterday it wasn't. That was my truth. And the reason that telling ourselves the truth helps us take back the time is because we don't have to blame or pretend that it's about time, and we can be clear of what's really going on, which is something like, it's not a priority for me. Now, if it needed to be a priority, if it actually was something that is a really big priority, then when I tell myself the truth, what happens is I'm able to say, but actually that is a priority. So it looks like I need to rework my commitments today. So telling ourselves the truth allows us to look at, are our priorities in the right place? And maybe you find that what's going on is that you have a lot of busy work happening for you. And when you start to tell yourself the truth, you're like, okay, all this busy work that I have going on is actually not my priority today. Something that I recommend, and I know that I have another podcast episode about this too, is that we break down the actions we have to take into what are high impact and low impact, and high vibration and low vibration. And the things that are low impact and low vibration, we do at the end of things, the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month, because they're not a priority for us in the bulk of time that is our normal day to day. So when we tell ourselves the truth, this actually isn't a priority for me, or it's not a priority for me now, or it's not a priority for me to do, we can get out of the habit of putting everything on our to-do list. It is very liberating to say, I'm not going to get to that. I am choosing that that is not a priority and it's not going to go on my calendar today. And if you're someone that keeps piling on, okay, I'll do that, okay, I'll get to that, then we just keep adding things up. So telling ourselves the truth is really important and very helpful when we're wanting to take back our time. It's what creates liberation, because we do have 24 hours in every day. Time is actually an incredibly abundant resource. If you really think about time as just its own entity, well, time started the very first millisecond that time began, and it has never ever stopped or run out. So time in and of itself is incredibly abundant. It's not that we don't have the time, it's that we're making choices of how we want to show up and move through the world. And we have the benefit and the opportunity of getting to be truthful with ourselves and with others about how we want to use that. Okay, so the second way that we can take back our time is to be able to discern when it's time to plan and when it's time to act, and to make sure that we're not getting into a disempowered pattern or using either as a crutch. Because there are times when it's time to plan, and there are times when it's time to act. And what we can do is get into a comfy pattern of which we like to put our focus on. So are you in camp plan or camp act? Let's break it down. Some people love to plan. I call them getting ready to get ready, right? They're like, okay, well, I know that I'm going to do this thing, and I just have to do all this research and get all my ducks in a row and get all this information and then think about and then reflect and then reorganize and shuffle things around. And then maybe I might kind of sort of think about taking a first move. And those folks are not getting anywhere, because we are just planning to plan to plan to plan, and we're not actually acting. Conversely, we might be jumping without our parachute, trying to sew it on the way down, but we rush into things so fast and furious that we hit the ground because we did not slow down enough to have a plan. And we find that our schedule is always maxed out because we're just rushing into things, going for it without having any sort of plan. So let's know, what camp are you in? Is the reason that you don't have time for anything because you're spending so much time getting ready to get ready? Or is the reason because you are rushing into things, filling your calendar with things that you have not yet thought out, have not been truthful about yourself as if they actually are a priority for you? And what we need to do instead is have a dance, have a fluid relationship between both planning and acting. And know that there are moments when we get to say, okay, I get to have the bones of a plan here. We don't want to overplan, but I get to have a system or a strategy, a template, a formula, the bones of something, the blueprint that can give me that structure and that support. And once I have that, then it's time to go. I do believe that the time to act is just before we're ready. So not when it's like the most perfect plan there ever has been, but when we have the blueprint of a plan, then it's time to go, because we're going to adjust our plan as we go. And we wait to rush in and act until we have a bit of a blueprint, so we can see how these are working hand in hand. So how we take back our time is by letting there actually be a dance, by giving ourselves just enough time to make a blueprint and then acting before we're ready, and making sure that we're not getting into a disempowered pattern of either one. And the third tip that I have for you of how to take back your time is to be supported with both of those things. The truth is that we cannot see what's in our blind spot. Think about how when you are driving in your car down on the highway, if there is a car that's perfectly in your blind spot, you just can't see it. And sometimes what happens is these patterns that are disempowered, that keep us feeling like we don't have the time that we want, are in our blind spot. And so it's really helpful to have somebody in our corner who can say to us, that doesn't sound like you're actually telling yourself the truth. Or can ask us a powerful question that says something like, what else could be true? And this is exactly what Lisa and I and our team at Rise Leadership Circle does for our clients. We hold up a truth mirror so our clients can call out what is really going on for themselves. Because again, this creates a lot of liberation and freedom. And often with our clients, we realize that they have put things on their calendar, on their schedule, that are not a priority, that they're not actually committed to, and that isn't even really of interest for them. I want you to think about the fact that overwhelm is a choice, and overwhelm is actually a lack of commitment to your commitments. When we are committed, have a plan and taking action, there's no overwhelm. There is us having a plan and taking action. And maybe there are some feelings that come to play, but there is not overwhelm, because overwhelm is a choice. And so it's so powerful to have somebody in your corner who can hold up a mirror to say, okay, I hear that you feel like you're spinning a million plates and you have all sorts of things going on. So let's look at what is in your blind spot, what you have not looked at yet, because you didn't know to, or because it was hidden from you, so that we can be truthful with ourselves about the deeper cause here. What's going on under the surface? And this is where we can get into things like shadow work and inner child work of why are we saying yes to the things that really don't serve us? There is a lot of layers, and having someone that is trained and skilled in how to support you with that can make all of the difference. And it's also really helpful to have someone support you to know when it's time to plan and when it's time to act. Because this shows up in our coaching calls, that someone will come in and it's like, a couple weeks in a row and they're still just working that plan. And I'm able to lovingly and powerfully say, okay, you actually have more than enough of a plan. What we need to do today is take action. One of the main reasons that we don't make the money that we want to make is because we are in inaction. We are not in action because we are just planning to plan instead of taking the action. If we want to be growing and scaling our businesses, we've got to be taking revenue generating actions. If we want to be getting strong and healthy and vitality, we have to be outside in nature, moving our bodies and eating nourishing foods, not making another meal plan that we aren't actually going to follow through. So it's important that we have someone say, okay, now it's time to act. And it's also really helpful when we have someone in our corner who says, okay, I see you have this good idea. You're so lit up. You're so excited and you're running in. And this is a pattern that you do. Something that you love to do is to run in without having thought through a few really important things. So let me help us take a step back, take a breath, and look at the most important things that we need so that we can have this go different. That this can actually create a result and sustainability for us instead of just another thing going on our to-do list. So I would love to hear from you. What is resonating? Are you realizing that this lack of time, the perceived experience of a lack of time, does not actually need you to reorganize your calendar for the 500th time? But it does ask you to get real with what's really going on, which looks like you becoming a truth teller, you being able to discern when is it time to plan and when is it time to act, and you having support so that you're not in it alone and that you're not operating with an old pattern in a blind spot that you just can't see, because that's human nature. We are not able to clearly see everything if it has been hidden and tucked away in a corner. I really hope that this serves you. I would love for you to join me in our Facebook group. It's called Live Your Yes Life, so we can have a conversation about this. Tune in to a future episode, and I hope that I will see you on an upcoming masterclass or challenge that we have. We always share all the details about the free ways to work with us, the ways that you can have even more support in our Facebook group. So I will see you there real soon. Thanks for tuning in.